people will say, people always ask me about Rohingya because that has been something that has been in the news lately, right? And the way the international media has depicted or explained the situation is, I would say, a quarter of the story, not the entire story, right? And they always talk about people of stateless citizenship, but actually the heart of the issue is not about citizenship, it's a much more native. Recognition of nativism or the indigenous is the key to it. And it goes back to, this was a census done by British when they took over Lower Burma in 1872. And this is the census record that I got from the British archives. And they counted many Muslims. And here different type of Muslims are counted, and none of them are named Rohingya. So the issue with the Rohingya, so therefore Rohingya came into Myanmar after that date. And that ties with what the Burmese and the Rakhine people has been saying. They're the latecomer. They're not native, but they want native status. And same like in the United States, right? Once you are considered indigenous or native, you get land. So that's one part. It's this problem, the conflict that is occurring in Myanmar is a multi-layered cake. It has many pieces to it. So one piece is that has to do with native status. And then because of the Rohingya claim that they are native, they fought at the time of Bangladesh and Pakistan become the Islamic State. The Rohingya wanted their own Islamic State inside Myanmar. So they developed Mujahideen and then conducted jihad against the local Rakhine people for about 10 years. So the Rakhine didn't forgive them for that. So now, in 2016, 2012 and up, people started coming to the defense of the Rohingyas, right? But then the Rakhine going, what about us that suffer back in, right? Nobody came to our aid then when we were being, so that's one more layer of that. And then another layer is a little bit geopolitics related to Rakhine, where this outbreak is the start of the Chinese gas pipeline. And during the construction of this pipeline, it disturbed, it was always at that tension, right? Tension. And then when the lands got taken away and all kinds of things happened in the construction of the pipeline, it disturbed, and that's where the outbreak occurred. So that's another layer. Yeah. So there's various layers to this, and it's only a little bit, and then of course the people are, the two groups that are fighting are different in religious, they belong to two different religions, but the fight is not, or the conflict is not about religion. It just happened, people had different religions. Nobody is saying that Buddhism is better or Muslim is better, but it's just the way the international media has depicted it as a religious conflict, right? Is much more of a historical and identity base. And another layer that is fueling this also has to do with climate change. Because of the climate change, on the Bangladesh side, is thinking Bangladesh has 167 million people that living in a small area, right? And so every year when the water rises, the hurricane and monsoon season, well, now they don't get their land back anymore. So where do these people have, they have no place to go. So some people are ending up in India side, and some people ended up on the Myanmar side. They don't have anywhere to go, right? So because scientists are predicting, they're saying that in the next 10 years, 17 million people from Bangladesh will be losing land. They have nowhere to go. So, but it's not 10 years down the road. It's happening every year, right? In total, over 10 years period. So these are fueling into that. But it's just that the Bengalis from Bangladesh side are very much similar to those that are on this side, right? So I explain in the best way to explain it is like Mexican undocumented immigrants, right? You have Mexican that has lived there before it's become a part of the United States, and then you have the newcomer that are coming in, but sometimes you can't tell the difference, right? So then when the international community said they're all Rohingyas, then the Myanmar Burmese government responded, oh, then they're all Bengali, right? But there's some parts of these people were there after 1872, living there since 1872, right? But then some part of them are newly arrived because they had to flee. They're climate refugees, right? They're all mixed together. And that nuance is not understood by the international media refuses, or I don't know, but, and then another piece is also poverty. Rakhine State is one of the most the poorest state in the Union, right? So when the international media talks about, oh, look at the condition of the Rohingyas and stuff, but they don't turn around and show the Rakhine living in the same condition. You know, so then again, that fuel this resentment from the Rakhine. So this resentment has created in such a way that we can't even get to the issue. It's now caught up in this name, right? The Rakhine do not want to recognize the name Rohingyas, and the Rohingyas they do not want to be called Bengalis, right? That's what's happening. And we're stuck in that level that we can't get down to the real issues. And that's what, you know, I know Aung San Suu Kyi has been criticized a lot for not coming to the aid of Rohingya. What she's trying to solve the problem. She's not trying to sensationalize it. So she can't take sides. She's trying to stay as neutral as possible so that she can get to the heart of the issue. As soon as she takes side to her, she can't solve it. She can't solve it anymore because people are so emotionally charged at this moment to even solve the problem. They get caught up in this name calling rather than getting down to the real issue. Yeah, I'm not saying.
Where did Rohingya, that name, come from? What does that mean? Does it have a meaning?
Rohingya, yeah, I think the way I understood it from some of the scholars is mean Rakhine in Arabic. Rakhine Da in Arabic, Rohung. So in the way it's evolved over time is Rohung. The Arabic name for Rakhine is Rohung, and then so Rohingya is the people from, yeah, that's how it's evolved, I've been told. Because the issue with them is that, you know, many of them are immigrants. They were migrated to Myanmar side, came with the British, while British was, you know, a British colonization. But then they live there, they mix with the locals, some of them, right? And they become their own brand of people. They're not quite Bengali nor the Rakhine, right? They're like a mixed breed. And so over time, the Bengali doesn't really describe who they are, and Rakhine doesn't really describe who they are. So that's how that the new, you know, name show up as a Rohingya. That's in a nutshell explanation of the Rohingya. When you see that, it's not as what you're getting is a quarter of the story, not the full story. And if we really want to solve it, we have to stay neutral and reduce the heat on both sides, right? So calling genocide and all that stuff is not helpful. It's not helpful for us to sit them down to start, because we can't, because there are about 2 million people that are, you know, considered Rohingya in there, and we can't just send them back. I don't care how many deportation forces that we have. And Myanmar can't, you know, they just don't have the capability to do that, you know. So it's similar to that there's 12 million undocumented immigrants in the United States, similar to that, very much in that passion. So they have to sit down and figure out a way to accommodate all of it without sending the Rakhine into their orbit.
Are they contributing to the economy?
Pardon me?
Are they contributing to the economy?
Well, they live in, you know, like many of them, they have been there since after 1872,
yeah.
So they're part of, you know, yeah. But they're mixing with the newcomer. Another piece is, because of the UN has recognized them as special refugee status, so many of the Bangladeshi that will, that are refugees, they will tell them that they're Rohingya instead of Bangladeshi, because if you say you're Bangladeshi and climate refugee, you don't get anything. But as soon as you say you're Rohingya, you get special status. So many times, that's why a lot of the boats that were seized in the Indian Ocean, initially they came out as the Rohingyas, and in reality, many of them are. There may be some. I'm not saying there is not any, but they're more likely they are from Bangladesh. Because Bangladesh is having a lot of problem with their, climate change, sea level rising. They're losing land, and which supported by the scientists, the climate scientists, their estimate 17 million people. So, anything? Okay.
I have several questions. I guess the first one is to test your statement on nativism
Yes.
regarding Rohingya. You listed in the 1872 census by the Brits that there were recognized Muslim categories. What are those Muslims' reaction? If this is a nativism reaction, they should have the same reaction to the Rohingya as native Buddhists. So what are their reaction to the Rohingya problem?
Same thing. So I think that, Mama, do you want to address it at all in the Rakhine state? The Rakhine, other Muslim that lives in Rakhine, they have the same problem with the Rohingyas. Yeah.
So they're taking the Buddhist
Side,
yes, as natives.
Right. So there's two different things. So they're specifically related to Rohingya, but overall globally, right? Globally, we are having a problem. We're starting to see the backlash against Muslims in general for ISIS and all that stuff. So that's also going through Myanmar at this moment. But that's kind of separate, they kind of nuanced difference, So, but initially, when the Rohingyas started to ask for it, those Rakhine Muslims also were against the Rohingya.
Their reason is not being religious.
No, right, because
But
they
for
think they're just
economic-
illegal. Yeah, they're undocumented workers, right? They're illegal immigrants. Yeah, they did have that.